Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, a serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously. But why not at the time where the finals of the U.S. Open, after a tremendous week 2 of college football, NFL opening weekend, Major League Baseball playoffs just around the corner, NHL and NBA guys trying to figure out when to come into camp. It is a huge weekend. We'll focus in our interview segments basically on the internal workings of the U.S. Tennis Center and the new roof there, but there's a lot more to sports today. How about football? Take a look at the top 10 in our Horrow Sports Ventures Power 100 list of folks for 2015. That's last year. Number 10 was James Harden. Number 9, Rory McIlroy. 8 was Federer. 7, Andy Murray. 6, Patrick Kane. 5, Kevin Durant. 4, Serena Williams. 3, Novak Djokovic. 2, Stephen Curry. And 1, LeBron James. Interesting. A lot of tennis players in that group. They're individuals, not corporations, team-wise anyway. And you can clearly understand why they're making a lot of money off the court as well as on. But the bottom line is, for the first time since we began the survey 8 years ago, no NFL players in the top 10. Clearly there are some next. Tom Brady is 11. Antonio Brown was 15. Russell Wilson is 20. Cam Newton 24. This is on-field and off-field. But the bottom line is that the NFL continues to be the gold standard of sports, but yet there are some issues. And when you think about it, new revenue internationally, jersey sales, labor peace, 47% of the revenue is shared. And Roger Goodell predicts that revenues will be $25 billion by the end of the labor agreement in 2020. Meanwhile, Player Association guys are saying, save your money, because we may have to have a lockout. I would predict right now that ain't going to happen. Nobody wants to kill the golden goose that lays the golden revenue egg, but yet we're ready for football like never before, and that's to be expected, especially in the business and the American culture of sport. Great show today, all about the U.S. Open, all about the roof, and then bust, boom, and hope. I'm the Sports Professor Rick Horrow. Beyond the Scoreboard. Be back in just a minute.
Complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $24.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $24.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more.
Call now, 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Sometimes what you want most from your car is nothing. No headaches, no surprises, no anxiety when it's late at night and you're on some distant freeway in a thunderstorm. Owning a certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz can be that anxiety-free experience on every level. You know you're in one of the safest and most thoughtfully engineered vehicles on the road. And with an unlimited mileage warranty, you can drive as far as you want for up to 3 years, with roadside assistance included. Your sense of confidence and adventure are as unlimited as the warranty itself. Now you can drive the car of your dreams and realize that nothing is everything. And during the certified pre-owned sales event, now through August 31st, you can receive 2 years of complimentary prepaid maintenance and 0.99% APR financing on select models, available through Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. You've waited long enough.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified pre-owned warranties. APR offer available only to qualified customers. Call 1-800-FOR-Mercedes for details about costs and terms.
Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, a serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously, except this week, inside the workings of the U.S. Open, U.S. Tennis Open, the most significant event in New York. 700,000 attendance expected, economic impact nearly $800 million to $900 million. The bottom line is that advertising revenue is really significant. When you look at the roof that just put on, $2.4 trillion in assets banked. Chase signs a $90 million sponsorship in 2007. You look at the roof, you see Chase everywhere. The guy that was basically the quarterback of the $500 million renovation and the $150 million roof, Danny Zausner, was with Ogden up until 15 years ago, significant in the facility industry. He's been the quarterback of a very significant stadium expansion deal. Danny Zausner took us on a tour. Here he is.
For the first time in the history of modern architecture, you've got a roof of $150 million or so, of a $500 million renovation that covers a facility of 21,000 or so people and basically changes the landscape of professional tennis in New York and, by inference, around the world. And the guy who runs the United States, the U.S. Tennis Center, as the COO, and the Arthur Ashe Stadium, and the Billie Jean King Tennis Center. Do I have it right, Danny?
You have it right. It's a mouthful.
Danny Zausner's been a friend for a long time. Started at Ogden, worked his way up, worked his way over. First of all, Danny, thank you very much.
Welcome. Thanks for coming out.
I really appreciate that. So, you are the roof czar. You're basically the guy that did all of this, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But how important is this roof structure? And by the way, when you say that, it's a beautiful day here. It can't be any better. It's a beautiful weekend. He doesn't care. We talked off camera about, does it matter if it rains or not? Of course it matters if it rains, but stability is more important. So how important is this roof?
It's important from every angle. For the players, the certainty of knowing that there's always going to be matches, and certainly for our broadcast partners, not having to show repeats of a Connors-Krickstein match from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And the fans. You know, Rick, we have fans that come from all over the world. 40% of our fans come from outside the tri-state area. 16% of our fans are international. They don't want to fly here from New Zealand and find out the day that they bought tickets for is a rain out. So now they got matches every single day of the 14-day tournament.
And also pretty good for television, I would assume.
It's fabulous for all of our broadcast partners. 200 countries we broadcast to, so them knowing that we'll be showing matches all day and all night long is key.
And really, really good for Aaron Krickstein.
He's ready to move on.
How many times, ladies and gentlemen, if you're an avid tennis fan, have you watched Aaron Krickstein destined for victory and Jimmy Connors basically ruins his life, right? We all know that.
So close.
It is the classic television filler for the American and worldwide tennis audience. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts, so to speak. The roof itself, 125 feet over the sidewalk, freestanding pavilion, 8 super steel columns, 16 great ankle bracelets. Oh, they're not ankle bracelets, they're ankle bracelets. 80-foot high, 4.4-acre expanse of white fabric Teflon membrane. Those are all technical things, but describe what this thing is like in your words.
So here's the most important thing, is the roof opening is 250 feet by 250 feet. You could fit any other Grand Slam stadium inside just that opening alone. And that was critically important to us because we want the players to feel like we're still an outdoor tournament. And all of them have been saying that. But the interesting thing, too, is the players are telling us it feels intimate in here. So we've taken the largest tennis stadium in the world and made the players feel intimate. Couldn't ask for more. 60% of the fans are in shade all day long. It was less than half of that in the past, so that's a big benefit for them as well. But the thing here is that this stadium, Arthur Ashe Stadium, could not support any more weight, so we had to build this roof structure completely independent from the stadium itself. So that's where those 24 columns you were just talking about, that's what's holding up this roof right now. It's got nothing to do with the stadium. And the fact that we've got this Teflon coated fabric that's translucent, so we still get daylight through, but it's not, the sun's not penetrating through. And you've got tens of thousands of fans in this stadium right now who are thanking us for that shade is critical. And as you mentioned, it may not rain for 2 weeks, but the fans will still feel like they're outdoors, and that's what's the most important part.
So, first of all, before this is over, where is the magic button that opens and closes this?
So right below us, actually, one floor below us is Roof Control Room 6307. And in that room are all the computers that controls the roof. It's 2 big panels, 125 feet by 125 feet. Each one of them weighs over 1 million pounds, and that's what's being pulled to that center part. And so in that same room, they check humidity control every second of the day to make sure that if we have bad weather, we're pumping cold air into the bowl, making sure that it never gets too slick on the courts for the players. A lot of moving pieces, but it's right below us.
So I know we've got to talk about Facebook Live and what we're going to do on the show, or we lose viewers. We're going to gain viewers. Let me tell you why. Danny's going to talk more about the roof and the economics of it and Chase and all. Chris Widmeyer, who is the Kuba of communications here, is going to talk about corporate and activation and economic impact and all that. Then we're going to find a corporate activator who has a very interesting 10th anniversary, which we'll talk about a little later. But the star of the show is that Zausner personally is going to go down to control room 4038, whatever the heck he just said, and close the roof alone in violation of every rule that ever existed. And then he's going to be looking for a job. How's that?
Anything for Facebook Live.
Yeah, that's right. So give us the ground rules on opening or closing.
So it's completely controlled by our tournament director, Brian Early, tournament referee, I should say. And he'll make the final call. We're never going to close it for heat, and we're never going to close it for shade. It's just going to be about rain. So if we've got a strong forecast, and we've got meteorologists that are watching the data 24 hours a day, if we have every reason to believe that there's a really good chance of rain coming in, whether it's in an hour or 2 hours, we start the wheels in motion.
But
literally.
The meteorologists are from Meteo France Sport?
They are. They're flown in from France, and they are experts. They've been used at Wimbledon and Roland Garros, and we like the stuff that they do. So,
but the French are hardcore. Do we have any worry about them saying no? We're not closing it.
You know, we've got security guards around them 24 hours a day. They're not showing any preference to any other tournament.
Good.
They have our best interest at heart.
I hope so. So what happens with air conditioning?
So there is a ton of air conditioning that literally flows through the ball, but it's not to take a 95-degree day with the roof closed and all of a sudden make it feel like your living room.
Yeah.
What it'll do is it'll pump the cold air in, but again, it's for humidity control. It won't make it hotter in here, but you'll have constant airflow in the ball. It'll be pulling it out through our court level so that there's a constant flow of air in here, but it's not going to make it feel that much colder in here.
So it says to combat condensation when the roof is closed, the air is as cool as 55 degrees, 16 diffusers. A diffuser is a technical word for a big thing that stuff flows out of. How's that? Is that right?
So in our gutter, we've got these 16 air handling units. They're 500 square feet each, and that's what's pumping all this cold air in.
7 minutes, and the shutters close in 30 seconds?
Exactly right. We thought the shutters are for the top 15 feet where the stadium ends and where the roof begins. There's a 15-foot gap right outside where you can see the city skyline.
Right.
So when we pump that air in here, we close these 54 shutters all around the ball, and that helps keep the air inside the ball.
That has got to be magnificent. What we'll end up doing is get some B-roll and put it on the Facebook Live and the Reuters site.
Absolutely.
So they can see it. Because I assume, a couple months ago or a while you had a opening and closing and opened this place?
We did. We had a press event back in the beginning of August. Everyone got to see it for the first time. And last night, even though it didn't rain as part of our opening night festivities, we opened and closed the roof, and the fans went crazy.
Oh, we should have seen that. That was the thing that we missed last night. All we were watching is some darn good tennis. I guess there's some of that around here, too. So, economics, first of all, let's talk about Chase. You can't avoid Chase on the roof when you're flying, when you're driving, and the metrics of that must have been like any stadium naming rights deal.
Well, and our partners are at that level of a naming rights deal in general, and the fact is it's for a 2-week event, but when you're broadcasting to 200 countries, it means a lot for all of our partners, both on-site and across the world.
What about the television? It's not called the Chase Roof, but obviously there are a lot of synergies here, and Chase has Serena Williams as a spokesperson, and they sponsor the women's finals, and there are a whole lot of synergies as well.
There's no question. You see that a lot amongst our partners.
Yeah. The roof, was there a bidding process for the naming, and was it hard initially to go out and say, this is not a traditional naming rights deal, but look, it's in New York, it's the biggest roof ever, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, the other part of it is this is Arthur Ashe Stadium, and it's going to remain Arthur Ashe Stadium. So Chase was very respectful of that process and certainly wanted their name on the roof, but totally understands that the stadium is named for Arthur Ashe. And it's just a very subtle element, which is no different than every other sponsor that we have on the site. Everything they do is subtle, but at the same time, the interaction that they have with our fans on site is unlike any other sporting event.
Danny Zausner. Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard. Be back in a minute.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for prescription drugs? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get prescription drugs at huge discounts from Canada Drug Center. That's right, the most popular drugs for cholesterol, high blood pressure, depression, diabetes, arthritis, and many more are now up to 75% off. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices when you can get brand name drugs at the lowest price? Call today and get up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs. Never pay high prices again. Get the most popular drugs at huge savings from our Canadian and international pharmacies and fulfillment centers. No insurance? No problem. Prices are so low you do not need benefits or insurance to get all your prescriptions fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting to take your call now. Order today and get free shipping. Just call 800-950-1180. Up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs and free shipping. Call 800-950-1180. That's 800-950-1180.
Blood pressure tends to run higher during the day and lower during nighttime sleep. However, many with high blood pressure don't exhibit this nighttime dip, a condition called non-dipping. More in today's AARP health tip after this.
At Walgreens, getting diabetes testing supplies with Medicare Part B is a walk in the park. Really, because getting what you need is quick and easy, giving you more time for other things. There's $0 out of pocket on all major brands like Walgreens True Metrics and no extra paperwork. So managing diabetes becomes a stroll down Easy Street, or a trip to the movies, or even a day at the beach. Talk to your pharmacist today. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Zero out-of-pocket cost when billed to Medicare and full coverage supplemental insurance.
Non-dipping is a major risk factor for stroke, heart attack, and kidney disease. But studies show taking one or more of your prescribed blood pressure medications just before bedtime significantly decreases the risk. Of course, never change the timing of your medications without first consulting your doctor. For more, go to aarp.org.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS, or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates, and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now, 800-480-5708. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-480-5708. That's 800-480-5708. Again, 800-480-5708.
Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously, except this week, inside the workings of the U.S. Open, the U.S. Tennis Open, the most significant event in New York. 700,000 attendance expected, economic impact nearly $800 million to $900 million. The bottom line is that advertising revenue is really significant. When you look at the roof that just put on, $2.4 trillion in assets banked. Chase signs a $90 million sponsorship in 2007. You look at the roof, you see Chase everywhere. The guy that was basically the quarterback of the $500 million renovation and the $150 million roof, Danny Zausner, was with Ogden up until 15 years ago, significant in the facility industry. He's been the quarterback of a very significant stadium expansion deal. Danny Zausner took us on a tour. Here he is.
By the way, there is a tennis match going on here. We're not supposed to talk about it or mention the score, so there is no tennis match going on out here. How's that? Is that does that feel good?
There's tennis being played somewhere.
Somewhere in the world. So, what else will this enable you to do? Is it purely just for the 2 weeks, or are you going to deal with concerts down the road, or how are you going to deal with it?
First and foremost, it's definitely about the Open, and it does open up a lot of other avenues for us that we're going to start pursuing in the future, for sure.
Well, the interesting dynamic of all of this, according to the press reports and the meteorological reports, is it really didn't rain a lot until the 08 Open, and then you had a match between Nadal and Andy Murray that everybody remembers, and then all of a sudden it's like, we've got to expedite this, we've got to figure it out. So,
you know what, when they built the stadium in the late 90s, they looked at the weather data for over 100 years, and the week before and after Labor Day, when we host the Open every year, is two of the traditionally driest weeks of the year. So they decided to build a 23,000-seat stadium instead of 18,000 seats without a roof, because the data doesn't lie. But you're absolutely right. We didn't have the men's finals moved to a Monday for 30 years, and then it happened 5 years in a row. So you can call it global warming, you can call it freakish weather, whatever you want, but we needed to address it. There's no financial model that makes spending $150 million make sense, but it was the perfectly right thing to do for the players and for the fans.
Let's deal with that for a couple of minutes, and then we'll walk around a minute. When you say no financial model, that's the tennis match we're not watching. There's no financial model that makes sense, because you can't correspondingly increase suite rates. You can't increase ticket rates. You might do it for other reasons. But there's no revenue that pays for the 150 immediately, right?
Exactly right. And we don't start writing checks to our partners the second a match gets postponed. They're in it for the long haul. They know that the match is going to get played. But again, going back to the fact that it's just an inconvenience for everybody, it's the right thing to do.
So you made the decision on the roof in 13 and 12?
What we did is we started doing studies on how to build a roof over an existing stadium that couldn't support it. And by the way, in land that used to be an ash dump, so the land around it is terribly hard to support anything.
Do we have issues? So if I come back here 5 years from now, we're going to be a few feet lower?
We built everything on piles, and those piles aren't moving.
Piles. They're not moving.
Not to worry.
They're not moving.
For those of you fans that are coming out to the event, you're totally safe.
You're okay. Don't bring your swimsuit.
So we did studies in 2003 and 4 and 7 and 9, and finally 2011, the original architectural and structural engineering firm, Rossetti and WSP, they came up with a solution that was absolutely perfect. It met all of the needs of what we wanted. We didn't want this roof to feel like it wasn't attached to the stadium, that it was some albatross sitting on top of it. We had to be able to support it and afford it, and also it had to work. We looked at options there. It looked good, but the fact is it took an hour to close. We didn't want the players going home and coming back in an hour. This thing closes in 6 minutes, and that's the beauty of it. The players can stay on the court and watch it and get right back to the match.
Do you think it gives you a template where certainly now Hard Rock Stadium, that Steve Ross has done in Miami, didn't have a roof but now does. Will there be some applicability to stadiums all over the world that are open that may want to close up eventually?
Well, for us it was about lightweight, and that's why we used this fabric as opposed to the heavy metal panel. And it was also about on the outside, we had so many structures surrounding Ash that we couldn't put columns every 10 feet to support this roof. So they found an elegant way to do this with 24 columns around the 8 sides. I think every stadium's issues are unique to the marketplace that they're in. We had to deal with the city, we had to deal with the Public Design Commission, the community boards. I don't really wish that on any other community in the country.
They all have it,
so,
maybe not as much as this.
That's my blessing.
Yeah. Awesome. So, is it worth it?
It's absolutely worth it. It's exceeding all of our expectations, and it's not going to change in years to come.
Let's walk a little bit. We'll go down to the grandstand. We'll pick up Chris Widmeyer, who is, as I told him, he's the best public relations guy of the majors around New York. How's that? He's really good at what he does. And our executive producer, if you hear a loud thump, it's because you just got some liability that you didn't have before. So, Chris, we're going to pick you up down there, or should we walk with Danny? Whatever you, is that, should we?
Does this thing?
We're live, yeah, of course we're live.
So whatever you
we wanted to, we want to engage in non-rehearsed banter. How about the Blue Devils? By the way, Chris Widmeyer.
How are my Facebook friends doing?
Yeah, that's good. So I will formally relinquish this because unlike Chris, Danny's really got some work to do. Right? How's that?
Thank you for the time.
Danny, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. Danny Zausner, ladies and gentlemen. He's been a hero in the facility development industry. You know how to get to the bar. Okay. All right. By the way, our executive producer, which will remain nameless after that comment, what she really cares about is how to get to the bar.
And shockingly, she thought I wouldn't be able to find the bar.
Yeah, right. You've only been, all right, so how long have you been here? How many years?
This is my 14th Open, my 13th year.
Okay. So, by the way, what we just said, Chris Widmeyer, who is really great at what he does, has been here 14 years, but yet wouldn't know how to find a landmark at this place. So
it was more the fact that it was a bar, Rick.
Yeah, more than it was a bar. So, Danny was great with this, and what's your perspective? Then we'll do other stuff. What's your perspective of the roof, given your role?
Well, I've got to tell you, Rick, being here for 14 years, I started on Kids Day in 2003, and just seeing the amount of energy that we put into these roof protocol studies and roof possibilities, I never thought it would happen. That is really my bottom line on this. I thought I would never see this. And to see it open last night during Phil Collins' performance, and the whole crowd just lighting up and going, whoa, it was shocking to me. It was fantastic. As it relates to our world, it provides the consistency that you're looking for. And that was the real reason we did it. And so I'm not saying anything, crazy here, but the consistency in the scheduling, the consistency for the fans, consistency for the players, and of course for our television, and that's the biggest thing.
Well, and Danny answered this from his operational perspective, but if you were to say as a business case analysis in Harvard Business School, we're going to spend $150 million on something that we can't monetize or amortize, but there's some ephemeral notion of goodwill, you'd be shocked.
It would be, especially since if it was a Harvard Business School. I only went to Duke, so
I understand the difference.
I'm not sure.
All right, we'll go slower. But it's the same. It's the same process. It's just you did this for reasons that were unrelated to the bottom line.
Well, it's true. I mean, one of the driving forces there, obviously, is tennis is in competition with itself. We're seeing roofs at Wimbledon. We're seeing roofs in Australia. The French Open would like to get a roof. You see these facilities in Madrid, Beijing, Shanghai. You put on top of that, that I believe we are in the most hyper-competitive sports marketplace in the world. It might be London, but I don't think so. It is New York City. With the amount of professional sports franchises, the amount of options people have, and the fact that we have 2 weeks to get done what we need to get done, we need that consistency.
Clearly. Let's walk down to the grandstand area and show us which one to show us. Take an aerial view of here, and we'll get this done. So this was part of so it's a $500 million renovation, 150 of the roof, 350 is not done yet, but that's the total number.
Well, no, more than 350 is done because of the amount of work that we've done. So we are in a 5-year transformation period. We're in year 3 right now. So what you're seeing is the operational retractable roof for the first time utilized this year. We will see the new grandstand stadium, which is going to be a crown jewel in all of tennis. The old grandstand held 6,000. The new one will be 8,125. So it's up by about 2,125 seats. It's a fantastic new court. And the other piece of this, folks, is that we have expanded only by 30 feet down to the south. But by doing that 30 feet, this whole boulevard has opened up. That is connecting Court 17, which was built about 4 years ago, all the way down the boulevard, a 500-foot boulevard that will eventually get you to the southwest quadrant where the new grandstand will be. So, 500 feet long, 40 feet wide. So what used to be very cramped and very tight is now much wider. It has much more breathing room. People are strolling and not bumping into each other. As you can see, we've redesigned the whole southern complex. It's much more modern and sleek looking. The numbering of the courts is pretty dramatic and really pops. Also, the booths underneath there where, from 16 through 13, they're all connected with an elevated walkway, which is a brand new feature for fans. But we built up courts 11, courts 12, and court 7, which allowed us to grow our retail, our fan amenities, and our sponsor activation booths probably by more than 50%.
So talk sponsors, and let's talk walk if
sure,
we can.
Absolutely. Just watch your feet. We are, I'm sure he told you, up literally on the top of the old roof of Arthur Ashe Stadium. So as you can see, we've got rigging of all sorts for television around the world, among other things.
Ins and outs of stadium, ins and outs of the U.S. Open. Clearly interested in the entire facility. Little noise issues. The one thing that is clear, after a hurricane swirls off the coast, no question of delaying finals or semis, and that's in essence what the roof is all about. We'll be back with Chris Widmeyer in just a couple of minutes. Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard.
And now, today's General Steel building tip. Buy a large lot with a friend or family member that can be split into 2 smaller lots. Some of the most appealing properties may be much larger than what you want or can afford. Yet the seller may not be willing to break up a large parcel. So if you can share the costs with someone else, preferably someone you don't mind having as a neighbor, you may be able to pick up a great building site for a reasonable price. And now, a word from General Steel.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 866-95-STEEL. 866-95-STEEL. That's 866-95-STEEL.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 877-663-7126 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 877-663-7126 to take your call now. Call 877-663-7126. That's 877-663-7126. Again, 877-663-7126.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply, subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
The event of tennis, nationally and internationally, really significant, and the U.S. Tennis Association generates most of the revenue for the Tennis Plan to Growth. Chris Widmeyer, the Director of Corporate Communications, has been in that position for many years and been with the USTA 14 years, a Duke graduate, but also very significant in a lot of other places. And the bottom line of all of this is that Chris Widmeyer certainly knows his business. Let's hear from Chris now.
People want to have fun. This is, as you know, this is a lot different from other sporting events in the sense of the experience of the fan. If you come here, more than likely you're here for more than 6 hours, sometimes 8 to 10. Right. So you have to provide a different type of an experience that an arena event or a normal stadium event would provide, where you're going there 3 hours later, you're out. So you have to have multiple food offerings. You have to have your all kinds of activations for different age groups to totally entertain and captivate people, knowing that the crown jewel of it is the tennis tournament. Yeah. But when you're spending that much time, you've got to build things that are going to attract people. And by making this expansion, to your point, we've allowed our sponsors to grow what their offerings are to us.
How long are your partnership deals generally?
You know, I think it's probably the longest average in sports. I believe the average is over 22 years. And, you know, some newer than others. Emirates Airlines is newer, but I mean, they're just, you know, they've been with us for years now. They keep growing with us, you know, meaning their role with us. Yeah, right. I mean, obviously the airline is growing on its own, but it's just people, once they get involved, they generally stay involved.
And you give them the ability to create their growth strategy by activating as you improve the facility too.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of the transformation as well. You have the core operational issues, right, of the retractable roof that we talked about for scheduling consistency. Then you have the idea of, can you expand how many people enjoy the U.S. Open by growing the grounds? So if you replace the old grandstand, which held 6,000 people, with a new grandstand that holds 8,125, you get, for the 2018 U.S. Open, that will go from 10.6 to 14. So we will have 4,000 more people for that. So in all, we might be up 10,000 people a year, and it'll be more comfortable than it was last year or the year before.
Which is great. One more thing before we walk down, just so people, most of you have been to New York, but maybe not. So that's the site of the 1962 World's Fair, if my history is correct.
64.
All right, either 62 or 64, right. But I suspect it's 64. And that's the Globe, and this has always been the convenient point, the Citi Field where the Mets are. Old Shea Stadium is just to our left. LaGuardia's landing pattern is, by the way, do the Jets change landing patterns for the Open?
Yes, they do. I mean, it's something that we're very thankful to the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. They work with us that during play the jets are rerouted, so they're not booming over this facility. That said, obviously they have precedence if they need to go into the normal pattern. We understand that. We are alerted to that, and that will happen.
Interesting. Let's keep walking. And I just want to tell you that it is a classic case of leverage, because when I have asked the FAA to stay quiet during dinner at my house, I still get the same number of planes.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
That's one of those things, Rick.
And I know. I understand. A lot of things in your life that you can ask for, but you don't get them. And because you have and it's I guess it's a serious point, a magnificent relationship with mayors/mayor. I mean, it continues, right? David Dinkins was great.
I mean, the reason that this stadium was built and that we're on this site has a lot to do with the 106th mayor of New York, David Dinkins. Right. That being said, we try to be a great corporate citizen. You know, there were many people in the Queens community that were reluctant or opposed our desire to recapture 30 feet. We saw it in a different way, you know, because for some reason when this park was developed, right outside our south fence line, the area that we expanded into was literally 3 roads. I don't know why it was 3, we're not sure why. So basically we moved our fence line to the end of the first row. So there's still 2 roads there. Yeah. We are going to beautify that. We already have with landscaping and trees and whatnot. But I understand all public land in New York City is precious. Right. So there were folks in the community boards that surround the park that were understandably upset. So what do? We said, look, this is what's going to be the benefit. The U.S. Open is already providing New York City $750 million in direct economic benefit a year, because 46% of our patrons come from outside the New York metro area. If that's not enough, and I understand because we've already been doing that, we will guarantee, you know, that we will contribute to the Conservancy of Flushing Meadows Corona Park. I think it's something between $5 and $8 million. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Certainly over $5 million. It's not all about the money. It's about how you're going to use that money to beautify this park. And when we got in front of the community boards, when we worked with the Borough of Queens, when we worked with the City Hall here in New York City, and when we worked in Albany, they saw that we were legit and we meant what we said. And that goes a long way. Those relationships, whether it's with the political teams, whether it's with the communities, your fans, your players, your partners. If you're a stand-up organization and you mean it, you're going to have success.
I will just keep talking along. Love to get your view on the ground as we do this. The $750 million, we shouldn't really stop at that. We should emphasize it a little more as well. So your number of attendees in a 2-week period, generally?
Approximately 700,000.
And these are people whose demographics are pretty good because they've come in and they've traveled. Pretty good, let's put it mildly.
Yes.
So they're going to be spending a lot of money.
Generally.
Do we have a per cap on how much every person spends, or are you at liberty?
Well, I don't remember what the per cap is here. So, I mean, basically what you're saying is you got 46% of the people are coming in, right? And of those 46, about 15 to 20%, depending on the year, are international guests. So, that's hotels, that's other cultural events, that's cabs, that's restaurants.
Yeah, right.
When they come on site here, it all depends. Look, U.S. Open, let's face it, we used to be the most expensive sporting event for concessions and merchandise. At least that was our reputation. I don't know if we've held the line because we have, or everybody else is raising their prices. But right now at the U.S. Open, you can get a bottle of water, a hot dog, a hamburger, or a beer for the same as you can at Citi Field, Yankee Stadium, the Garden, etc. Yeah. That being said, if you like caviar on your deviled eggs, you can get it here. It's going to cost more than $5.
Well, but the lobster rolls here are the best in any tennis center I've been in, and probably best at any seafood restaurant.
Well, maybe not in Maine, but
no, not in Maine. Definitely not.
We'll take it though. We'll take it.
All right, so we'll go downstairs.
Yeah, so we're going to have to go through this door. We're going to have to be kind of careful, and we do have to get into an elevator.
I think we'll be all right.
Okay.
By the way, just advance notice because we have some more coming up on Facebook Live. If we're in an elevator and it doesn't work, we're going to be back with you right after this commercial message for Chris Widmeyer and Associates.
So what we're doing in Stadium, where we have all television broadcasters from around the world, we actually just passed the Chase review booths. And in the first year, it's electronic line calling. Most people would call it instant replay. I don't know why we had to complicate it and call it.
Or Hawkeye. As long as we're getting an elevator, what's that? What is that behind it?
That is the video, one of the 4 video boards in the stadium.
Okay. So we're in an elevator, and if it fails, we apologize. When we took the stadium tour in Minnesota, it didn't fail. When we took the stadium tour in Oracle Arena, real old, didn't fail. So far, we're okay.
Wow.
Is that good?
Yes.
And I know you have significant technological acumen, so I'm sure you can explain where the ions are lined up here, where it's not. All right, we back? Good. All right. Well, I guess we shouldn't talk too quickly about signals in elevators. Maybe the comparison of facilities around the country got lost when we were talking about it. That would be a good thing. So, all right. So we're down on the first level.
Yes, we're back down on the ground level, right outside of Arthur Ashe Stadium, and we're facing the South Plaza area of the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. So part of the idea was to upgrade this facility. The vision for this started many, many years ago, where this used to just be completely concrete pavers. So about 10 years ago, Rick, we put in these fountains. All of a sudden, you took a dead zone and created a fan favorite. The photo ops and now whatever everybody does with Snapchat or Instagram, or, this is one of our popular spots for that. At night,
demographics, young demographic for the Snapchat. No, well, certainly the earning demographics. I saw some numbers saying the average is $160,000 income, which is pretty significant.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, very significant.
One of the highest in sports, if not the highest.
But and a lot. I see a lot of young faces here.
Well, I mean, we have to. If you're going to grow, you can't stay flat. You can't be doing the same things, right?
Right.
So if tennis doesn't try to make, if the USTA does not attempt to make tennis look like America, we're making a mistake. And that's what we're trying to do, make tennis look like America.
Well, and that's a very important point that we're going to spend a minute on. By the way, you should run for office. That's a pretty good comment. But more important than that is that we have a whole bunch of Americans who will make a decision as to whether they want to go into tennis or any other sport. And part of the experience when you see kids here loving this, good for the game, good for sports, good for tennis.
And, it's... Again, we have a unique sport in the sense that, similar to the way economically and roof-wise we have to compete against the global sport in tennis, If you look at athlete choices around the world, some of the best athletes in respective countries are attracted to tennis or football, soccer, because there aren't as many professional options. In the United States of America, between the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, NHL, MLS, and countless others, we need to be relevant to them. We need to prove that the toughest tennis in the world is right here. Right. And if you're a true athlete, look what you can do. And in fact, I would contend that technology will be our friend there, as you see more and more wearable devices where people, whether it's a Fitbit or whatnot, we're now moving to that era of embedding it in your clothes. You can see exactly how much exertion you do in playing tennis, how hard the sport actually is, what it really takes of you, and it's going to be a tremendous advantage. And, look, it's obvious, I'm going to say the obvious right here, but technology is for young people, right? If you look at what American Express is doing over in the fan experience, they've literally created a virtual reality experience for the first time in the Amex U.S. Open American Express fan experience, where you will get the sensation of leaving the locker room, going down the player tunnel, and going out onto Arthur Ashe Court Stadium. You'll see Pete Sampras, you'll see Monica Seles, depending on which locker room you're in. It is unbelievable. So these are ways that you can engage younger fans, get them in, and show them how big this sport is.
All of the checklist items for new $2 billion stadiums. Minnesota opening, the one in Dallas, the ones that are being built in Europe. You're exceeding those, its best practices, and you're building on it, even though effectively you're doing this for 2 weeks a year.
That's one of the challenges, right? You have an entity, whether it's an NFL franchise or a Major League Baseball franchise, you pick it. Their season is going to be 82 home games or 10 home games if you include the preseason or whatever it is. We have a 2-week economic model. So as a not-for-profit organization, that's main mission is to get people into the sport, you have to make decisions. Is $150 million for a facility at the U.S. Open the right way to spend your money, or should you take that $150 million and buy a tennis racket for everybody? I know that's a little outlandish, but you know what I'm saying. So you have to kind of do this balance. That being said, you can call the U.S. Open tennis as big as bake sale. We need to stay relevant. We need to stay competitive, and therefore you must reinvest in the infrastructure and make it relevant, edgy, bold, and innovative.
That's 1-800-USTA.
Chris Widmeyer, the business of the U.S. Open, how the money generated helps young tennis players. Really interesting perspective. Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, back in a minute.
We all know healthcare has changed drastically. It's quite the puzzle to sort through your options and find a health insurance plan that's affordable and maximizes your benefits. And you're now required by law to have health insurance, or you may pay a tax penalty. So let the Health Markets Insurance Agency help you. They offer plans from over 120 different companies and can even help you obtain government subsidies. Let them do all the research for you and show you how affordable health insurance can be, a service that's at no extra cost to you. Call now and learn your options to find affordable health insurance. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242, 800-614-1242, 800-614-1242. Health Markets Insurance Agency is a DBA or assumed name of Insphere Insurance Solutions, Inc., which is a licensed insurance agency in all 50 states and D.C. Not all agents are licensed to sell all products. Service availability varies by state.
Attention, if you've had hip replacement surgery and suffered any complications, you need to listen to this important legal alert. Major manufacturers have made billions of dollars available to award legal claims for defective hip implants. Thousands of these defective hip implants have been recalled by various manufacturers. If you've had hip surgery and suffered complications, you may be entitled to receive significant compensation to help you deal with your complications. You may be eligible to receive money to help with medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Protect yourself by hiring an experienced trial attorney. Our partner law firms are experts in hip replacement surgery lawsuits. Find out now if you're eligible to receive any of the $2.5 billion HIP settlement fund. Call now for free information. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. That's 800-296-1360.
For me, it was the big S-Class from the 90s. Beautiful. My friend's dad had one.
The SL. All of the SLs. I've been watching those since I was a kid.
I think the 1971 SC was the first Mercedes that just blew me away.
Everyone remembers the first time they saw one, and the day they began to long for a Mercedes-Benz of their own. Well, that day may be a lot closer than you think. With a certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz, you can experience the luxury and safety Mercedes-Benz is famous for at a price you can afford. Beautiful SUVs, sedans, coupes, and convertibles that are factory certified and covered by an unlimited mileage warranty for up to 3 years, so you can drive without a worry for as far as you like. And during the certified pre-owned sales event, now through August 31st, you can receive 2 years of complimentary prepaid maintenance and 0.99% APR financing on select models, available through Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. You've waited long enough.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified pre-owned warranties. APR offer available only to qualified customers. Call 1-800-FOR-MERCEDES for details about costs and terms.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow beyond the scoreboard. Big week in NFL, big week in U.S. Open tennis. And now, bust, boom, and hope. The not so good, the really good, and the hopeful in the economy. First bust. Well, the top paid tennis players from last year, when you take a look at them. Serena Williams, number 5 at $13 million in sponsorships and about $12 million in prize money. Then Maria Sharapova at $23 million in sponsorships and Rafael Nadal at $28. Novak Djokovic at $31. Roger Federer at $58. Why bust? Well, they're all significant and they're all there. Djokovic, the only one that goes to the final weekend of the U.S. Open, just meaning that the players continue to move forward and compete against themselves for those significant endorsement dollars. Maybe not a bust, but certainly the tennis world looks at the dollars that are available. How about boom? Well, 27 of the most valuable 50 teams in the world, according to Forbes, are NFL teams. The average value about $1.7 billion, about 160% increase in the decade, 38% increase in 1 year. Why? $5 billion annually from television versus about $1.1 billion in baseball and $2.5 billion with the NBA. CBS and NBC split Thursdays, NFL Network and Twitter. The TriCast of $900 million appeals to the cord cutters, so the bottom line is international revenue, jersey revenue, revenue sharing, labor peace, and television. What does that mean? Big time boom for the NFL. Finally, hope. Crooked Stick in Indianapolis, big event, FedEx semifinal. And I was there, but for the LPGA, Brooke Henderson, 11 top 10 finishes and 22 LPGA events, and the 18-year-old Canadian phenom signed a sponsorship deal with Skechers Performance. Henderson, currently the women's number 3, joins Matt Kuchar, Billy Andrade, Colin Montgomery, and Russell Knox as other golfers who have deals with Skechers. Other sponsorship deals for her: RBC, Ping, BMW Canada, BioSteel, Sunnis, Google's Android Wear smart watches. She's just getting started. Her game is on fire. That comes from Skechers. Clearly, hope for the LPGA and hope for Brooke Henderson. We'd like to thank Chris Widmeyer, like to thank Danny Zausner. Enlightened tour with the USTA and the Tennis Center. We have other significant events next week. Won't you join us when we go Beyond the Scoreboard?